Pues muchas gracias por venir, primer ministro. La verdad que qué bueno tener la oportunidad de verlo otra vez, ¿no? Es así que muy importante para nosotros y llegamos ayer al mediodía, veníamos de Washington, estuvimos de desarrollo alternativo, entonces estamos trabajando, estuvimos con el presidente, los líderes republicanos y demócratas un poco para mover el respaldo bipartidista al paquete económico.
Special problem, you know what? Because my predecessor visited.
That is your turn. So I would like to say that.
We will gladly go. So very nice to meet you.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm so glad as well. And
policy is crucial for the stability of our countries. Second, that excessive government controls can seriously disturb economic performance, changing in many of our country's legislation. And finally, and perhaps the most relevant today, that government regulation and social areas like the financial sector. This leads me to the other question that I want to address today, this afternoon, that it's populism an alternative? Or to put it differently, can populism implement such reforms? The answer is definitely no. Populism cannot do that. And the reason is very simple. Undertaking these reforms have used recent economic history to discard populism as an alternative for having any real chance of progress. However, this is not the whole story of the 90s. To emphasize the importance of this point. Without reforms heading in this direction, vulnerability won the decade of progress by effectively reducing poverty. In order to make this feasible, poverty reduction and stability. First, stability promotes the growth that is necessary for poverty reduction. And second, it brings the stability for reforms to take place, as President Andrés is going to do and I'm doing in our country, in the middle of hyperinflation or currency instability. So the first side of poverty reduction is to secure stability by building on the 4 lessons the last 2 decades. Stability and poverty can be dealt with coordinated. The World Bank, for example, can determine some particular standards for the educational reform to be successful. And the IMF can determine at the same time the sustainable level of deficit to finance.
I'm also glad to say that we are pleased with the appointment of Mr. Enero as the UN Secretary of National Assistance to Colombia. Of course, interested in your assessment of the situation of stability in your country and peace. And I know, I want to assure you that we are, of course.
Thank you very much. President Schwab, I think that it is an indication of the importance of the topic and the importance of the World Economic Forum that you have so many leaders from around the world here today. I see, just scanning the audience, the President of Colombia, the President of South Africa, Chairman Arafat, the Prime Ministers of Spain and Turkey, and a number of other leaders. We have here with me today the Secretary of State, the Secretary of the Treasury, the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Energy, and our Trade Ambassador. There's no one home in Washington to take care of things.
We're very honored to have you here, President, and would be interested to hear your views.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start by saying that for me it's a great honor to be addressing this audience today in the first World Economic Forum of the year 2000, especially when we were invited to talk about the topic Latin America, a time for crisis or renaissance. This topic is so crucial for the future of our region, and as a head of state and someone that has been involved in the public sector of my country, for a country of such complexity, as you said, Mr. Chairman, as Colombia, I would like to try to organize my intervention in two parts. First one, the lessons of the last 2 decades of economic history in Latin America, and second, their implications for the decade we are just starting. Why don't we look for the first what happened in the 80s? By the end of the 70s, Latin America had engaged in a path of unsustainable economic activity that was based on high domestic consumption, heavy borrowing from abroad, unsustainable exchange rates, and excessive government intervention in the economy. When the 80s began and export prices for our goods fell, access to the international credit markets closed, interest rates skyrocketed, and economic activity almost came to a complete stop. Unemployment also soared, and hyperinflation appeared as governments try to get out of their problems by printing money.
Thank you very much indeed.